State for the win. They hand it off to Johnson. Boise State has won the top.
They take a downfield shot. And the catch is made. It's Ryan Williams. Still spinning free. Touchdown. The touchdown, the first possession, back in the game. And he's loose again. Edwards off and running. Welcome back, Donovan Edwards.
He's going for the corner. He's got it.
This is the Gridiron Uncensored.
All right, everybody, we are back. We are doing our season previews. We're hitting the group of five first. And, we just did Boise State. We just talked about them. I definitely think they're a contender for the, for the playoffs, of course, for the Mountain West. And we're going to talk, through the group of five series about probably 14 teams that we see as teams that can contend for, their conference, also maybe be in the running late for the playoff slot. So we're going to talk about Navy on this episode. And, really last year, we'll talk, 2024 first, just to, talk about what happened, where did they come from? And you look at the schedule, look at how it's set up. They had a really nice run early. I think it was 6 straight wins. And then they went out and there was a big game against Notre Dame. Everybody was like, oh, man, can this team knock off Notre Dame? Notre Dame had already lost earlier in the year, to Northern Illinois. So this is a good point right here for Navy to prove what they got. But then they ended up getting blasted. And then Rice, it was like a hangover thing, against Rice. They lost, and then they lost to Tulane, which is another really good group of five team. So looking at that, they went out, they did beat Army. They end up, finishing the season in a bowl victory against Oklahoma. And a lot of people are riding that wave. And they're like, oh, man, we took down Oklahoma. We did all
Poor
these
Oklahoma, man. This group of five thing just ain't for them.
Yeah, the Oklahoma fans were pretty salty about that one. But for Navy fans, they're excited. They're like, hey, we got momentum. I'll say, it's not like for me, the Oklahoma game, I wouldn't lean on that too much just because they had so much turnover and people sitting out. And I'm not saying it wasn't a great win. Like I'm really happy for Navy getting that win. And I laughed my ass off, watching it. But just that's the one thing I'll just say, hey, it's Oklahoma had a lot of pieces missing, something to keep an eye on when you're projecting into 2025. So again, we're going to cover the team. We're going to look at,
coaching
changes, all that type of stuff. Trev, anything on that realm for Navy?
No, not really.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. It was just like with Navy, it's like one of those things where I thought they caught fire and then they just got their asses smacked by Notre Dame, and then the season was what I kind of thought it was going to be, is kind of an up and down season the rest of the way. Now, don't get me wrong, you ended on a high note beating an Oklahoma team that also had a down year. But that was having a down year, and I feel like half the team quit on that coach. But but that being said, you still beat them. I mean, generally speaking, we're talking about Navy, who, if they get a 3-star recruit to actually commit to Navy, that's a win for them. Usually, if you look at their recruiting board, it is a bunch of kids that you just don't know who they are. They've not been rated by any of the recruiting outfits, and it's kind of one of those things where you don't know what kind of Navy team you're going to have until it's on the field. So,
no, I agree, and obviously, we know it because we talk college football, but for others out there, if you're watching, you don't know enough about Navy recruiting or whatever. I mean, these kids have to go through a certain process to go to the academies. They have to, they're not going to be your 5-star, 4-star type dudes.
These guys, generally speaking, are not NFL guys. When they're done with Navy, they go to the Navy.
Exactly. So again, if you don't know, if you do, which you're probably a Navy fan watching this, you already get it, So we're preaching the choir here. But when you're talking about Navy, and really to me, it's a tribute to the coaching staff, where this team had in 2024, where they came from. You're looking back at 2021, 22. They're barely winning 4 games, 5 games. They're not doing anything. They're like bottom feeders. But then guess what? 2024 comes around and they light up. They're ready to
Took college
go.
football world by storm.
Yeah, and they had everybody excited. That when the academies are doing good, people love that. They love to see it. And so now, can they carry that momentum into 2025? And with a coaching staff, that's still around. I think there's potential here. Obviously, again, this isn't going to be something where you see Navy in the transfer portal. It's not.
Right.
It's another part of this new world of college football that this team isn't going to be built the way others are. They're built through recruiting, putting guys in that like to work, that want to be part of the football team, and they buy into that brotherhood. And
That's right.
that's something that they're bringing back over 60% production, and this is why I have Navy on this list as opposed to Army. And I think Army can still be a good team, but they lost quarterback, a lot of other positions. Navy, on the other hand, they returned a lot of that offense that was doing some damage on the ground, especially, but they were also able to throw it well last year too. So, Trev, what do you think? I think this team's got a pretty decent potential to really build off that 2024 year.
Yes, I do. And the one thing I will say about Navy is that they have to replace a fair decent amount of senior defensive players.
Yeah,
that left for just because they were seniors. So that's their focus. They obviously did focus on that. They actually have a decent 3-star edge rusher, Garrison Dibble out of North Carolina, 6'4", 245. He's their best commit. Buddy Collins out of Kentucky, an athlete, 5'10", 175. Respectively. I mean, they're pretty decent 3-star recruits. I mean, there's a few other 3-star recruits that are on here, tight ends, wide receivers that went to Navy. Where I mean, like, hey, if they're getting 3-star recruits, that's a great thing. That is a great thing for the program, and I just think that'll be a good thing for the program overall. They did upgrade. They did their Navy. So a lot of, I don't know about Air Force. I think they allow transfers, but I don't believe that Army or Navy allow transfers. At least last I checked, they do not do the transfer thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to double
Maybe
check
transfer out, but they don't transfer in. I mean,
yeah, you can transfer out for sure, at least up until sophomore year.
Yep.
Because people always ask that when like a guy from Army transferred out, and they're like, "How the hell is that possible?" Well, he's a sophomore. There's commissioning requirements. If you're going to be an officer, there's things that you have to do before your junior year, before you go to sessions and stuff like that. But as for the transfers in, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't really checked on that. But yeah, I mean, you look at the portal class, it's not, it's nothing.
There's nothing.
Yeah. So it's like, all right, we're building from within, and that's something maybe that gives them an advantage nowadays, in this new world. And we talked about returning production. Again, Horvath is back. Texa is back. Running back, fullback, quarterback's back. Your backup quarterback is back. You offensive linemen are returning that we're giving you 5.4 yards per carry, almost 250 yards per game on the ground. And again, still you were passing more too because the offense is different. It's been a little bit more revamped from just the traditional, flex bone that you see. So I think this is an exciting time for Navy football. And you mentioned defensively, I agree. They did lose I think Busick to the transfer portal, on that side. So he's moving on from Navy, going to another program. Let me, if I can pull it up. I don't know where the hell it went. Well, I had it up. My kids turned off my computer, so my page went down. But either way, he left, on the defensive side of the ball. But they have guys that they think can still plug the gap and still be part of that really strong run defense that they pride themselves on. Stop the run. The biggest thing for me when it comes to Navy is you got to beat the big teams. You got to beat the good teams, especially when it comes to the passing attack. You look at Tulane like last year, they lost to them. Notre Dame, when they came to town, it got ugly.
Right.
That's things that when you're looking at the 2025 season, if you're going to contend for, your conference championship, or you're going to try and make a playoff push, which of course they want that, you've got to beat the big teams on your schedule. And defensively, their pass defenses was not it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't, great, especially when you played better passing teams like Tulane or Notre Dame. So that's something I want to see them, continue to improve on. Trev, I think
I think with that said, talking about teams that they play, let's talk about their 2025 schedule a little bit.
Absolutely. And to me, that you start off, and it's so much more manageable. VMI coming in early, a little warm up game there, and then you go play UAB. And UAB was a team we mentioned, coaching wise, maybe you got a hot seat.
It's a bit of a train wreck.
It's a strange. I don't know.
It's a bit of a crazy thing.
It's a love-hate relationship for them. Tulsa is another one that Navy should be able to get through. Rice is an interesting team because you look at 2024,
and they got them.
And Rice got them. But again, was that a hangover from the beatdown that Notre Dame gave them? I don't know, but that's something you need to keep in the back of your mind. Hey, this team took us down. We need to be ready at all times. And then right after that Rice game, you have Air Force. So that's going to be on their mind. Air Force is coming. We got to be ready for them, but you got to be ready for Rice first. And then after that, you go Temple, and then you get a bye week.
So Florida Atlantic, I don't know about Florida Atlantic anymore. It's not. They've
been on and off.
North Texas, I want them to be good because I love their freaking unis.
I do too. Hey, North Texas has been rated so bad throughout the portal, but they get people in too. So it's like, I don't know. It's a strange team.
Yeah, and then
I think they'll be easy for Notre Dame when it comes.
And then we go into what I would say is the worst stretch of the Navy schedule, starting with at Notre Dame. Then it's like, good God, man. I mean, I know Captain Obvious over here. Thanks.
No, you need to say it because the last 4 games
are all teams that you would. Well, USF is kind of borderline. It's whatever team decides to show up because that's kind of how USF is that if Navy's playing good that year, they'll probably get a very good USF team showed up. If they haven't been playing good, then USF will probably play down to their competition. It's just kind of how USF always is.
They are a strange team. Like last year, they played Bama down to the wire. I know the score is different. It doesn't look like it, but we all remember how that game played. Mm-hmm. And then you get waxed by Miami. You lose. You get waxed by Tulane. You lose to Memphis. So they lost to pretty much every good team. They lost to Rice too. Yeah, but they still have pieces where their USF should be pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, but we got Notre Dame, USF bye week. Then you go into with Memphis and Army, and then the championship game if you get lucky to get through any of those games. And Memphis is probably my second team that I would say is my favorite to come out of here. Again, I said it last year, and I'm saying it again. I think Memphis really has a good shot.
Yeah. Memphis is definitely a team that's in the contention conversation, one for the conference, but two just for getting there, in the playoffs maybe.
Right. So
when you look at the schedule for Navy, it's really the first half feels winnable completely. That you can't foul up against Rice again. You cannot do it. But when you get to Notre Dame, even if you lose that game, you cannot let that hangover hit you again. Because like you mentioned, USF right after that. So Navy's another one. I didn't see anything, if you watched the last episode, about over-unders, any projections like that. It's just not out yet for some reason. The betting sites don't have it. But, I mean, to me, you got to at least go 9 wins here if you're Navy to keep that momentum. Like that's a must for me.
And honestly, the odds of them hitting a bump in the road early on in the season, it's probably pretty high. So for me, I'm going to take the under on that. Honestly, I think it'll be more of a 4-loss season for them this year.
Man, I don't know. For me, the defensive side, I think they're going to be all right still. Offensively, with what they bring back, I feel like they'll probably get the 10 wins again. I could see a 10. But they have to play perfect, and
they have to go 3-1 then at the end of the season.
Yeah,
they have to take out USF, Memphis, and Army.
I mean, I guess they could get their 10th win in a bowl game, but I mean, you got to.
That's cheating. I don't care. That's cheating. Yeah, that's not what I'm talking. That's not what we're talking about here.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Hey, listen, I'm trying to find ways to help Navy. No, I don't know. That 9 wins seems like it'd be the over under for me. Like if the betting folks said it, I'd probably say at 9, and 10. I'm gonna go 10. I think they can do it.
I'm under that for sure.
I'm a believer.
I don't have that much faith
this year. I'm a believer.
You're a midshipman this year.
I'm a believer in them. I got to rep Army. Always.
You're not a midshipman. You're a seaman.
Army always. Yeah. Hey, I don't know. I can't. I don't know. I don't know what to say. But listen,
yeah, Lord.
I'm running with.
Lord, forgive me.
Yeah. Navy, you got to pull it out. You can't get caught up, and that pretty much boils down to it. You got a lot of returning production on offense. Use it. Bruise them early. Do not stumble to Rice again, and you're gonna be cruising to that 10-win season. But at least in my mind. But,
oh Lord!
All right, well that's what we got on Navy. Again, if you guys feel anything different, you see anything different than what we're seeing, obviously we're outside looking in. We're just trying to cover the teams that we think can really make a push for their conference and for the playoffs this year when we do these season previews for the group of 5. So again, we appreciate you guys. Make sure you follow, subscribe, like, share, all that stuff. Comment on our YouTube page. If you watch this and you like it, let us know. If, again, there's something that we might have missed, let us know. We'll talk about it. If we make a mistake, we'll fucking own up to it. We'll talk to you about it. It's not that difficult. So trust me, the Oklahoma fans last year, that's another reason I laughed about it. They were so salty. We said probably 6 wins. They were like, they said nasty things. And guess what happened?
That's right.
I don't know. Maybe we were right. I don't know. But either way, we appreciate you guys. Go Navy on this season. Go Army, of course, but I can't say that anymore. Well, we'll see you guys. Follow us, share, and maybe we'll see you on Instagram Live during the season. We'll see you around.
Take care.